round of applause to welcome and acknowledge his presence in our university. I would kindly invite Mr. Shiv to be on the dais. The floor is all yours, sir.
માઇક ચાલુ છે ને અમિતભાઈ
ચાલુ
પહેલું માઇક
હમણાં જ મસ્ત ભાઈ ગયો વાતો કરવા
गुड मॉर्निंग एंड नमस्ते। आप में से कितने लोग मैच देखने लाइव गए थे स्टेडियम में? जस्ट रेज योर हैंड्स। Great. So I hope you had great celebrations after the match. Yeah. So जब मुझे AICT ने ये लेटर भेजा and of course honorable guests यहाँ पे हैं, उन्होंने मुझे बताया, so I'm equally comfortable with both English and Hindi. So we'll keep it a mix of both Hindi and English. I hope that's okay with all of you. I also understand Gujarati. I have spent 6 months in a project in Sayaji University in Baroda. So that was a project with JNU. So I understand Gujarati. I cannot speak in Gujarati. But of course, आप मुझे कुछ बुरा कहेंगे तो मैं समझ लूँगा आप कुछ बुरा बोलेंगे. So ये जो पूरा सब्जेक्ट है आज का, when we talk about Protopia, it's very important to understand what is this subject all about. Also, some ground rules. So I want questions from each and every corner of this house, right? So please take a mental note or take notes on your books or iPads or technology, whatever you are carrying with you, right? It's also for me to learn from you. So let's be a two-way conversation for both of us. So that हम एक दूसरे से सीख पाए कुछ नई चीज के बारे में, right? So this topic of Protopia, I was in Japan in 2014. I had visited there with JITCO team there. So JITCO takes care of all the UK, Japan joint projects. So I was visiting this campus and I saw this word written Protopia. I was very curious to know from the vice chancellor of that institution that what is this all about. So he said that what we do in Japan and this institute in particular, हम future को explore करते हैं because future cannot be a fixed aspect for us now. So every year, every 6 months, now even every quarter, things are changing. I was talking to a very senior business person day before yesterday. He said that earlier we used to send an annual report to our bosses. Then it became 6 months. Then it became quarter. Then it became 1 month. Now it's morning and evening. So that's the level of change what we are seeing. So Protopia as a subject, I have done quite a bit of research on this in terms of what spiritually it means, what it means for people like us, what it means for industry, what it means for government, what it means for policy makers. So Protopia, to make it very, very simple for all of you to understand, it means possibilities in the future. So there is no one possibility in the future. There are many possibilities in the future. And that's what Protopia is all about. Right? When you were in school and when parents used to talk to you, वो कुछ कहते होंगे ठीक है अभी डिफेंस में इंडिया जाने का है, इसके बाद ग्रेजुएशन करना है, आपको बिजनेस में जाना है, आपको कॉमर्स पढ़ना है, साइंस पढ़ना है. बट बाय द टाइम आप खुद एक्सपीरियंस करो इस बात को, राइट? इन लास्ट 4 to 5 years टाइम आप खुद देखिए आपके लिए कितनी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं आज के टाइम पे. बहुत सारी अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं. अभी मैडम ने इंट्रोड्यूस किया तो बताया that I cleared my UPSC, so it was all India rank 171. So, and that was for defense service. So I had that great, thank you. I had that great inclination towards defense service. So my father, I was talking to sir, over a cup of tea. He was in Indian Railways, and by the time I used to make friends in school, he used to get a transfer letter कि अब आपको यहाँ जाने का है. So different schools. So एक छोटा सा experience. So he was posted in Jharkhand, a place called Koderma. Dhanbad is very well known. I'm sure you must have heard of it and read in GK books. So we used to stay there in Koderma, and I used to see all those fighter planes doing zoom from right in the night and the morning. So that passion started from there. That I have to get into defense service. I have to get into the flying wing of it, because there are different wings in defense services. So I'm just taking a bit time to setting up the context so that you know the entire story, because like I said, I will also learn from you. So it will be narrating a story of my own journey, at the same time something for you guys to introspect and reflect and take notes of. So उस टाइम पे क्या होता था कि वो फाइटर प्लेन्स उधर से निकलती थी. तो I cleared my NDA, and after NDA, if you have to go to the flying wing of it, you have to also appear for PABT test. It's called Pilot Aptitude Battery Test. और वो लाइफ में आप एक ही बार दे सकते हो. Either you clear it or you fail it. If you clear it, it's there forever, right? So you don't have to appear and reappear and again. So I cleared that PABT test. Then once you clear it and you clear NDA exam, you have to go for SSB interviews. Now SSB interviews again has two separate. So day one is screening, and then there are 4 more days to it. It's like main interviews. There are a lot of, so they call it OLQs, officers like quality. There are 13 different parameters to it. So once you clear the screening, you have to get into physical test, group work, risk taking activities, a lot of other activities also. I couldn't clear the SSB and I failed it by 1.75 marks. I was completely shaken. That a lot of hard work goes into it, right? I'm sure you guys also must be preparing for exams, and the day the exam results are about to come, you be running out to the cafes or system and all that stuff. So you know the excitement of it. So after that, then again, I thought, okay, fine, let me just look at the second stage. So then you have to clear CDS, right? CDS is Combined Defense Services. So that is after graduation. So those of you in this room, if you are intending to get into defense services, CDS is one of the exams which you have to clear, as conducted by UPSC. Now, while I was completing my graduation, now I'm just connecting the dots. So you have to be very careful to listen to the story. So when I moved to my college, I also figured out which are the ways how my life to clear CDS would be easier. Again, I was sharing this with Dr. Shah. I enrolled myself in NCC. So I was in BHU. I was in economics department there. I graduated in applied stats. So when I was there, I joined my NCC. So if you join NCC and if you are C certificate with A grade, then you don't have to appear for written exam. You directly get into SSB interviews. So that's the benefit you get. Now I was aware of it. So what I did, I put my energy there. So I had to prepare for my written exam. At the same time, I thought that let's prepare for this extra benefit with what I'll get. So I spent my time in NCC. I cleared with C certificate A grade there in Air Force Wing. So again, NCC has Army, Air Force and Navy, all these three. After that, then moved to Delhi, and then again Delhi. I was part of IFT, moved abroad for a few programs, few courses, then joined NITI Aayog as in Planning Commission of India. Day one when I went there, 4 more people joined Planning Commission of India. We were asked to go in the basement, and when I reached to my workstation, the table was filled, itna mota us pe ek layer bana tha, dhool, dust and all that. Typically at that point of time, that's how, because digitization was not there, so still government was functioning in the file format. So I came home, I told my mom that this is how things are there and I have to sit there. She said after studying so much and going here, there, yahan padhne ka, udhar padhne ka, all you are going in a basement and sitting on this table, I mean, what's the purpose of all these degrees? I told her I just need a hanky. I went to next day to Planning Commission, cleaned the entire table and started working on that. The rest 3 people never turned up. But I thought that was, I'd say, life-changing decision for me. I was equally sad that ये कहाँ आके काम करना पड़ रहा है इतना पढ़ने के बाद. But after that, took a lot of rural education project. Stayed in Bhopal. There's a place called Kharwai. It's a village area. I was part of Rajasthan. Stayed there at the local ground to understand how things work. So it was at that point of time the whole discussion of STEM integration in school had started. Teachers के लिए नया था STEM को कैसे integrate करना है. A water for geography teacher is different from a water for a science teacher, right? But a student can get super confused that which water is right. Geography teacher का अच्छा है कि science teacher का अच्छा है. So idea was to also ensure that the teachers are sitting together and they are preparing common lesson plans so that water could be common, right? The chemical formulas are not different for a geography or a science teacher. So there I got a ground exposure and reality of how the rural education is in India. I spoke to more than 1,300 Gram Panchayat people and close to 2,000 principal and teachers, one-on-one. And let me tell you this gave me immense understanding of how education system was prevailing at that point of time. And that's why I decided I have to get into the policy side of it. I was very glad to know when Dr. Shukla on my way back, he was briefing me about this 2 years internship program. Let me tell you this, that is one of the best programs perhaps this university is running. Because if you are there to learn the shop floor skills, it's very, very important for all of you to understand that. Next slide, please. So, if you see here, am I audible? Okay, so I love to work and talk. So, why Protopia? See, perhaps in our lifetimes is the first time when we are seeing major disruptions happening around the world. And it all happening at the same time. The one, there's a technology disruption. We'll come to it later. I have a lot of other slides on that. Climate change. There's a spelling mistake here. So again, attention to detail is one of the skills, is very important. Conflicts. When I say conflicts, which means the wars are happening around the world. Russia and Ukraine, we are seeing. Russia has to pay $500 million per day for this war. Imagine the cost of it. And then suddenly, sir already highlighted about the Israel war also. There are conflicts which are going around the world. It's just that the news channels are capturing only these two, so we see these two. There are 8 wars going on by the time we are talking different parts of the country, small or big. So that's the conflict which are happening. Climate change. In September this year, the temperature of the ocean around the world, it has gone up by 1.3 degrees Celsius. It's massive. I come from Delhi. Delhi, on the roads, we get 800 cars per day. Imagine the carbon emission which is happening out of it. Even if you go to a village, in my own village, so my ancestors' place is in Varanasi, most of the places have the ACs now. They have this, all the modern technology and device, वहाँ पे भी मिलता है आजकल. So it's very easy to see the other side of it, which is ठीक है facilities सारी मिल रही है, but we have to also think about the other side of it. How many of us are using AI? Okay, but have you read about AI and the kind of the water which is required to process the entire information? I will not tell you. You should go and read about it. That's part of climate change. Every time you ask a question to the generative AI, it takes trillions and trillions of gallons of water to process the entire data. It's very intriguing. You can think, oh, how this is correlated. Go and read about it. I was told that engineering students are also here. I would want you to go and read about it. And perhaps share with sir and then you forward it to me. I would like to read about it. How do you do the research part of it? Technology. Every day, YouTube has the content which you and I individually will take 7 years to watch. 7 years, imagine. And I'm sure ma'am, somebody talked about, I think you talked about Instagram and how we are spending time on that. Now think about the content which is there. So it's very important for you to also understand that how you are being trapped into it. So my phone is lying here. By the time I pick this phone, so every individual has the potential to create 1.2 million of data point on this device. By the time I have picked it up, a data has been created. That's the disruption we are talking about, right? So in today's time, it's for the first time that we have these three disruptions all together. So it's even more important for all of us, especially for all of you, to be very mindful and thoughtful of where you're spending your time. Now, if you see the bottom side of it, all these boards. So a board could be of Dr. Shukla sir, or could be of ma'am, or could be of your vice chancellor sir. I see lot many faculty members also. They put in a lot of effort to ensure that you guys get best of the information. So all these boards are there. But then everybody should put a collective effort to move towards the desired goal. And what are the desired goals? These are vision creation. Sir talked about how we should have a collective vision to achieve. Very, very important, because disruptions are taking us in different, different paths. But we have to put it together. When we talk about how we do it, so there are three things very important. Day before yesterday, there was a talk Nadella was giving, the Google person. He said that in Google, what we are doing, we are working with the concept of co-pilot. What do I mean by that? So by 2030, the number of content creators in India will cross 100 million. 100 million. So that change is already happening. Every year we are producing more than 2,000 films, movies, including Bollywood, Tollywood, and all these north south together. So that's something where co-piloting will be required. Technology will be there. You will have to learn how can you be together with the technology. That's very important, which is co-piloting. Coherence. You have to learn to live with coherence with nature. You know, how do you give it back to nature? Nature has its own way of to extract things from you. COVID was a perfect example of it, right? We see a lot of these, what happened in Himachal Pradesh, आप सबने देखा होगा. शिमला सबको जाना अच्छा लगता है, मैं भी हर साल जाता था, but इस बार नहीं जा पाया. Nature has its own way of punishing us. So we have to be mindful of it. Very, very mindful of it. हम कितनी चीजें यूज कर रहे हैं, सस्टेनेबिलिटी के बारे में सोचना समझना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट हम सबके लिए. And the last one is the co-creation of it. We have to become co-creator. Only faculty members cannot teach you everything. Right? You are on N number. You are on Telegram, you are on Instagram, you are on Facebook, you are on LinkedIn, you are on X, former Twitter, so many other platforms. He or she has to do a lot of other things also. They have to do your assessment also. Right? They have to also prepare for the next class. You become co-creators. Share something important. How many of us have read, day before yesterday, Ministry of Information Technology has released white paper on AI. How many of us are aware of it? Raise your hands. Great. It's very important for all of you to be aware of it and read about it. So we'll talk about how part of it in subsequent slides. Next slide, please. So these are some of the questions which we will be addressing in today's session. So as learners, as young Bharat learners, so to say, what we are doing, we are looking at the climate crisis. I already talked about biodiversity is there, artificial intelligence, job disruptions which are happening, global connectivity, every brain is connected to the web now. My own nephew, he is just 6 years old and he has a YouTube channel. One day he sent me a WhatsApp saying that, Mamaji, you must subscribe to my YouTube channel. I was taken by shock and surprise at the same time. More health-related pandemics, right? Growing conflicts, and there are many others also. Next slide, please. So, all these challenges which are there, right? Of course, they're there, but then one has to look at the funnel of it. So these are all top of the funnel. Then how do you ensure that you pick 2-3 areas with absolute clarity in your mind that where I have to achieve, what I have to achieve? It's very, very important. Which is why it says the balancing act is required, but at the same time, you have to be very focused where you have to go. Next slide. So, in the subsequent slides, what I have done, I have kept these three sections. So, where we'll be talking about the trends which are shaping education, skills, and human development. We'll talk about emerging business models. What are the opportunities for all of you? And we'll also talk about jobs and skills of the future. Next slide. So trend one, there are 5 trends I have listed down. There are many more, but these are like prominent ones. I have already touched upon it. We are moving towards digitalization of economy and society. I call it 3D, device, data, and digital touchpoint. While you are using the data, can you ensure, especially this is for the engineering and the management students, please understand, the leading consulting companies these days, they are not even bothered about communication, Dr. Sasser. They are talking about visual communication. They talk about presentation skills. So from communication at let's say 5 years, 10 साल पहले जब हम बात करते थे कि आपको भाषा इंग्लिश आनी चाहिए, forget about that. That definitely is like a non-negotiable thing. अब किसकी बात हो रही है? Visual communication की. आप एक डेटा को कैसे प्रेजेंट कर सकते हैं? So for all of you, it's very important to learn basic skills. See, to get to your dream jobs, you don't have to become the Einstein and Aryabhatta of today's generation. Do basic things. Aspire to become one, but do basic things right. You should be very well versed with advanced Excel programs. How do you do the analysis part of it? How do you do the advanced filtering part of it? How do you do VLOOKUP? How many of us are there, the management students here? Raise your hands. Okay. Now just answer one question. Let's say you are given a project to analyze the balance sheet of Google and Microsoft. Where do you go to pick the data? Give me one source. Raise your hand and name the source.
First of all, their own websites. And then we will search some management journals or some case studies reported. And of course,
Right. So yeah, so partially she has added 2, but there are many more platforms, places which you should be aware. Using, not using is a different case altogether, right? But whenever you have to pick the information about the balance sheet of a company, you must see the annual reports of the company, the most trusted one. There's a platform called Capital IQ. How many of us have heard of it? Ma'am knows it. You must discuss with her. That's the most trusted platform where most of the companies, they share their data. You have to pick data from there. Now extraction is also an art. If you type on Google, I was named Ravi Shukla a couple of times. So if you type Ravi plus Shiv plus Shukla, you will get a different result altogether. If you type Shiv plus Shukla under inverted Delhi, you will get a different result. If you type Shiv minus Shukla plus Dr. Shah minus Ahmedabad, you will get a different result. Try doing it. Basic skill, right? You don't need to go on Moon and Mars to become the great people. Basic skills. And you have to do and you have to learn it by practicing it. So it's very important when I talk about the digital way of teaching, learning and digital way of recruitment. There's a platform, Dr. Shah, it's called LIP, if I remember it correctly. I'll send you the link of it. Most of the organizations now are taking interviews there. And these are AI assisted interviews. Forget about HR का कोई उधर बैठा होएगा पूछेगा मेरे से कि ठीक है tell me about yourself. Gone are the days. जब आपको ये याद करना था कि अच्छा I am so and so, I am from this and this. That definitely that's non-negotiable. You have to know it, but get into specifics of it. Get into super specifics of it. So marketing again for the management students. Marketing, there was a time when let's say my generation of my friends who are doing MBA. Marketing, finance or HR, broad verticals, right? But even in marketing now, we talk about performance marketing. How many of us are aware of it? Raise your hands. See, no one. You have to read about it. Now, all the leading startups in India, they talk about performance marketing. That's a specific job role and they hire for that specific role. They will not hire a marketing expert. they'll hire performance marketing expert. And they pay really like big check. So what I'm saying is, that I'm sure the faculty members are aware of it, but then you have to prompt them. That ma'am and sir, this is a new concept, I have read in this latest report, you have to tell me about it. So digitization is something where all of us have to learn a lot of new things. Hey Siri, I'm sure most of us have this iPhone, we are using it. Generative AI is something where you got it. Now, generative AI, there is a lot of discussion कि jobs चली जाएंगी, ऐसा हो जाएगा, वैसा हो जाएगा. But please understand, even to prompt a question from generative AI, you need to have creative and cognitive mind of it. Don't be afraid कि technology आ रही है, job चला जाएगा. Like I said, the first slide, you have to learn how you become co-pilot to it. Extremely important. In subsequent slides, there are a lot of policy and other discussions which will go into. Next slide, please. Automation of industrial world. Forget about industry 4.0. Now we are living in industry 5.0. 4.0 हो गया, वो पुराना हो गया. Now Germany is already working on 5.0. Nike is setting up a store there, which will produce 1,000 pair of shoes every hour, only with 3 people. Just 3 people. I'm talking about industry 5.0. That's the pace of change. In India, have you seen 3D printed house in India? Huh? Where is it? Tell me. Yes, Bangalore. Sir knows. That's what I said. Spend more time with sir and ma'am. You'll get to know a lot of things. Bangalore has it. Dubai had the first 3D printed in this part of the world. Most of the times, what happens? We tend to believe कि जो सरकारी public संस्थाएं होंगी वहाँ पे मशीन नहीं आएंगी. Have you heard of Lakshmi? Raise your hand. How many of us are aware of Lakshmi robot? Raise your hands. No one. You must read about it. See, Lakshmi robot was the first robot introduced in Union Bank of India, Chennai. अब यूनियन बैंक ऑफ इंडिया है तो गवर्नमेंट बैंक ना. आपके पेरेंट्स मेरे पेरेंट्स ये बोलेंगे अच्छा सरकारी बैंक है यहाँ पे तो ये मशीनें नहीं आएंगी. बट लक्ष्मी रोबोट वाज इंट्रोड्यूस्ड इन यूनियन बैंक ऑफ इंडिया चेन्नई. Now the management students here, you could have a curious question that what happens to the people who are sitting at may I help you desk. आप जाते हैं तो बैंक में देखते हैं ना may I help you. तो उन लोगों के साथ क्या हुआ? They have not lost the job. And that's where again your reading is important. We as a society, we are not that advanced where we buy the financial products online. So what happened to those 3-4 people? They become the marketing consultants. Skills change होगा उनका. नई तरह की उनकी job roles हो जाएंगी. So that shift is also happening, which you should be aware. Next slide. Green energy. बहुत इसके बारे में काम हो रहा है अभी इंडिया में and globally, fundamentally because of the climate change. India is also focusing a lot on this. EV. So in Delhi में I can see, and I invite most of the faculty members here. You must make a visit to Delhi. There is a COE which is being set up, which Nitin Gadkari is working upon it. So that will be a center of excellence where from entering to exit, the entire process of EV transition transmission will be showcased. बहुत सारा काम हो रहा है उस एरिया में. When you are looking for a career option, please understand that, और ये बहुत बार हम मिस कर देते हैं, बट आपको ये देखना होता है कि पॉलिसी लेवल पे गवर्नमेंट का फोकस कहाँ पे है. बिकॉज जब वो होगा उसी के हिसाब से इंडस्ट्रीज इन्वेस्ट करेंगी, इंडस्ट्री फ्रेंडली पॉलिसीज बनेगी, बिकॉज गवर्नमेंट का फोकस वहां पे है. इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर में 130 बिलियन का बजट इस साल का है हमारे बजट में, राइट, विच इज 30% मोर देन द लास्ट ईयर एंड 1.3% ऑफ द टोटल जीडीपी ऑफ द कंट्री. नाउ फॉर द इंजीनियर्स, इतना इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर खर्च हो रहा है, वी नीड लॉट ऑफ वाटर टेक्नोलॉजी इंजीनियर्स. इतने ओवरब्रिज बनते हैं, पानी से जाना पड़ता है, लेके जाना होता है. We don't have water technology engineers, sir. In India, by the time I'm standing and talking, we just have 832 water technology engineers. 832. And how many do we need? More than 22,000. Now imagine, computer engineering, of course, opportunities are there. Civil, of course, opportunities. ये तो traditional वहाँ पे तो opportunity नहीं है. But there are new emerging areas. So for engineers who are there, you also should read about it. That what is the government focus? Where they are focusing upon? AI के ऊपर बहुत सारा काम हो रहा है अभी, बहुत ज़्यादा. Government is also focusing a lot about the traditional products we have. ODOP के बारे में कितने लोग जानते हैं? Raise your hands. No one. It's okay. You should read about it. One district, one product program. Government is investing heavily on that. What do I mean by ODOP? ODOP is every district is unique and it will have its own product. It will have its own export house. It will have its own job scenario. It will have its own skilling ecosystem. Any problems? Raise your hand, but no murmuring, please, students.
So it's a message from the government, only warning, nothing beyond that. You have to check that for disaster. Government has introduced the app, so it has come to your mobile. So don't hesitate for that, please.
Also, the reason why I should be aware of what government is doing, right? So it's just an alert system, but they have been testing on all the apps. So ODOP is again something where you will get lot of opportunities. Lot of opportunities, so you should read about it. Next slide, please. Rise of creator economy and web tech. I have partially talked about it, but again to tell you that going forward, this creators economy, the content creation, the creativity mind of yours, it will create huge number of employment opportunities for you. Not just employment, but self-employment as well. So be very aware of how this creator economy is shaping up. By the time we are talking, there are 80,000 plus platforms where you can put your content. It could be of travel, it could be of your subject specific, it could be socio-emotional, it could be of healthcare, it could be of parents. There are so many avenues available. Read about it. Next slide, please. This is something which I am very personally attached to. This is from Japan, sir. I have visited Japan, so it's not the exact picture, but this is from net, but this is the scene I saw in the metro stations there. तो जब उधर गया था तो वहाँ पे जब मैं ट्रेन में चढ़ा, I saw everybody's with the phone. And literally, so what happens in Japan, they usually wear black and white shirt and black trousers. Normally that's the trend, whether it's industry or the government job. वहाँ पे everybody was glued to their phone. Everybody. I thought, I mean, what has happened? I thought perhaps इसलिए ये लोग बहुत आगे हैं. You know, they are advanced technology country and all that. Right one is the Delhi Metro. Now this trend is very dangerous. Very dangerous. Right? And I'm glad you guys are smiling. आप on an average, आपको पता नहीं चलता बट कैसे कंपनी स्टार्ट करती है आपको, on an average within the age group of 16 to 33, on an average daily 6.5 hours we are all spending on social media, non-productive work. बट आप सोचो आप कितनी इकोनॉमी और कितना रेवेन्यू जनरेट करके दे रहे हो उन लोगों के लिए जो वहां कंटेंट डाल रहे हैं. थिंक अबाउट इट. बट इसकी वजह से क्या हो रहा है, वन स्मॉल anecdote. I was in ATS Valley School, it's in डेराबस्सी चंडीगढ़. तो वहाँ पे एक कॉन्फ्रेंस में उन्होंने बुलाया था एज अ स्पीकर. I got very emotional after what I sort of experienced. तो पूरा जब डिस्कशन हो गई, पूरा सेशन हो गया, तो मेरे दादाजी थे, बहुत ओल्ड एज, और उनके साथ दादी भी थी. तो सेशन जब हो गया तो चाय वाय का इनफॉर्मल डिस्कशन चल रहा था. So he came to me and did like this. तो ऐसे क्या है, मतलब आप कुछ बात करना चाहते हैं? He said कि थोड़ा इधर आ जाइए. He took me थोड़ा अलग. He got tears in his eyes. He said कि आपने बहुत अच्छा बच्चों को समझाया, बट आप कुछ ऐसा कर सकते हैं कि जो मेरा पोता है वो मेरे बाजू के रूम में सोता है, बट सुबह सुबह मेरा मन होता है कि वो मुझे आके नमस्ते, राम राम जी, प्रणाम, जो भी है करना है वो करे. बट वो नहीं करता, वो मम्मी का फोन उठा रहा था, गुड मॉर्निंग दादू लिख देता है। तो मुझे बहुत अंदर से लोनली फील होता है। I mean, imagine where we are headed. It's not just harming your career prospect, let me tell you this, but also as human beings, we are all adults, right? Let me very, very clear on that. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि अच्छा जब मैं बड़ा होऊंगा, I'll be evolved, बड़े आप हो चुके ऑलरेडी। और आपके डिस्ट्रैक्शन टाइम को भी आप एक टाइम करके रख लो कि ठीक है ये आधे घंटा मुझे ये देखने का, 1 घंटा ये देखना है। बट गिव टाइम टू योर फैमिली, वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। सी कोविड में क्या हुआ, वी ऑल थॉट वी हैव बिकम लाइक अ वेरी इवॉल्व सोसाइटी, है ना? वो पोस्ट आने लग गई लिंक्डइन पे, ट्विटर पे, इमोशनल, अब तो यही लाइफ है। वी फॉरगॉट everything we forgot, right? So try and understand this trend also, very important. And let me tell you this, I'm not telling you this for a personal level, professionally also. You should read the new World Economic Forum report of 2023 on future of jobs. It very clearly highlights the emotional quotient as the most preferred skills even by the industry. मशीन तो सारा काम कर लेगी ना, सारा काम मशीन कर लेगी, आपको क्या करना है? टू डू मैन मैनेजमेंट। हाउ विल यू डू इट? उसे व्हाट्सएप भेजने से नहीं होगा। कल को आप मैनेजर सीईओज बनेंगे कंपनीज के अंदर, मिड लेवल मैनेजमेंट में जाएंगे, यू नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड ईच एंड एवरी पर्सन इन योर टीम। हाउ विल यू डू इट? नॉट बाय सेंडिंग ईमेल्स। You have to sit with them, understand their skill set. What are they doing? What are their competencies? Where they are headed and all that. So this is again a very important trend, not just from the personal and human development, but also from your career perspective. Next slide, please. Now, so far we have seen the trends. Now we try to answer these questions. Which are the factors which are going to impact the demand in particular sectors? What kind of tasks and job roles may emerge? What skills are transforming or disappearing? How can education skill ecosystem respond to those changes? Next slide, please. Now, to answer those questions, I have picked a recent study which I was part of. So, the professors, so all these 7 faces, what you see here, in addition to be the 8 people, they are very distinguished professors from around the world, from Ivy League institutions, from one of them is from Wharton Business School, now has retired. So he retired in 48 years, now he wants to do a social service. He said, I'm done with my life. So for this report, OECD was partner in this, World Skills was partner to this, and Global Education Futures, they are a consulting thought leadership firm. For this we did 600 insight sessions with the government, with the industry across sectors. 8 sectors were identified. So I will try to answer those 4 questions basis of finding of this report. Next slide, please. Now, COVID-19, of course, it triggered a lot of swift transition which had happened. And how it happened? 52% of the workforce, even now, they are gig workforce. When I say gig workforce, what do I mean by that? They are somewhere not a full-time employee, but very heavily invested in day-to-day operations of an organization. Forget about the private sector, even the government. 3 years back, you must have seen the notification when this government came for the second term that they allowed the parallel entry into the government. Right? That's where even I was part of the Ministry of Commerce. It was the parallel entry to the government. Now, there's a forum called NISG, it's a platform, National Institute of Smart Governance. Take a note of it. I may ask anyone what I have said. NISG, National Institute of Smart Governance. Now, through NISG, you can check all the ministries and what kind of jobs which are there in central government or elsewhere also. So they recruit a lot of people through this platform, NISG it's called, National Institute of Smart Governance. So gig is not just a private sector phenomenon anymore, it's also to do with the government and the public sector as well. New job roles. Financial sector has moved to fintech. Healthcare has moved to health tech, right? Tourism is also moving towards tourism tech. lot of this technology integration has taken place. So it's very important for you to also understand. So for example, e-logistics. So in India in last 6 months, if I have to give you one data point, we have seen maximum number of startups in logistics. And why it's happening again? Understand the connecting the dots part of it. Infrastructure is improving. Government is investing heavily in that, right? Because of that, tier 2, tier 3 cities are also interconnected. Because of the economy is doing well, the per capita income and overall income of families increasing. We are using more Amazon. Even in my ancestors' place, Amazon एक दिन order दूसरे दिन Prime से आ जाता है. Imagine. Next day we get everything. So while all this is happening, we needed more and more organizations which could streamline the delivery part of it. Which is why a lot of startups have come in logistics. A lot of new job roles have also emerged. We'll talk in the subsequent slide. Training needs digital, we have talked about it. 82% employers looking for interpersonal skills, which I just talked about. The fifth trend, you remember? Very, very important. 82% of employers, they are looking for good human being. Now, definition of good human being could be different for you, for me, for ma'am, for sir. But there are some fundamentals. Being ethically correct, high integrity, respectfulness, mindfulness, living in coherence with nature, be a co-creator. These words should be there in your study room. And understand what do they mean and start practicing it. Next slide please. It may not be visible, don't worry, you'll get these slides. But I'll just give you some highlights of it. So, this is basically when, as an economy, we are moving towards more and more technology part of it. We have more tech-driven society now. When a society shift happens, at the same time, a lot of risk also come into the picture. And here, what are the risks? Cyber security. A very important risk. We need a lot of cyber security experts in the country. We have limited, there is a huge scope, huge scope. When we are moving towards these new areas, new infrastructure, digital and all the new sectors, we are also looking at a new role. So sir, this is something which after the session I will separately talk to you. Public policy as a role, it was always an advanced role in the Western world. But in India, it's now getting into the advanced stage. If so many policy decisions government has taken. To give you one example, in 2021, e-commerce law came, right? It said that every organization should have internal grievance redressal system. Every company. If you are an online company selling a product or a service, you need to have an internal grievance redressal system. Now, who can be part of it? One public policy expert. Imagine the kind of, the huge number of roles which are available. And who are the people who will be perfectly fitting into it? A person who understands the policy formation of it. Now, you could have a question that do I need to do any course for it? Perhaps not. But read more about what is changing. Read more about how things are changing in the entire economy, in the ecosystem. Pick certain newspapers, should read certain pages of it. Right? So there is a rule. When I was in Stanford Business School, a very important matrix was taught to me. It was called 3 to 3. So as a professional, you have to identify every year 3 sectors, industry segments, and then deep dive by 3 levels into it. I'll give you one small example. Let's say I have to become a finance head in a company, right? तो मैंने क्या किया? बैंकिंग एक सेक्टर चूज कर लिया. आउट ऑफ 3 बैंकिंग मैंने एक चूज किया. अब 3 by 3 का मतलब क्या है? उस बैंकिंग के क्या क्या इंपॉर्टेंट टास्क होते हैं? मर्जर एक्विजिशन देखते हैं वो, राइट? एक्सपेंशन देखते हैं, ऑफलाइन ऑनलाइन सेंटर्स, वो ब्रॉडली, बाकी और भी चीजें होती हैं. एज अ प्रोफेशनल हु इज एस्पायरिंग टू गेट इनटू द बैंकिंग मैंने चूज किया और ये 3 के बारे में, मर्जर एक्विजिशन कौन से लेटेस्ट हुए हैं, गवर्नमेंट का क्या नाम है, मेजॉरिटी स्टेक होल्डर क्या होता है, माइनॉरिटी स्टेक होल्डर क्या होता है, what the chartered accountant of India says about these things. Get into the details. Create your own tracker. So pick 3 industry segments and 3 important job roles. Deep dive into it. Trust me, it will immensely help you. It has helped me. So coming back to the public policy job role, you don't have to become like we have to go to डी हार्वर्ड, स्टैनफोर्ड एंड अदर दीज इंस्टीट्यूशंस ऑफ दिस वर्ल्ड, आप पढ़ना शुरू करिए। आप जिस सेक्टर में जाना चाहते हैं उसके बारे में मास्टरी लेना शुरू करिए, वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट है। दूसरी चीज जो यहाँ पे और एक इंपॉर्टेंट है, विच इज टू डू विद द सेल्फ डायरेक्टेड ऑनलाइन इंटरेक्शन एंड लर्निंग एंड कोलैबोरेशन। ये सभी इंडस्ट्री में, इवन इन द गवर्नमेंट, व्हेन आई वाज इन मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ कॉमर्स, आई मस्ट टेल यू, 2:30 in the night, I got a message from the secretary saying that tomorrow 4:30, Mr. Goyalji was minister, he is still the Minister of Commerce. So, secretary had received a message at 2:30 in the night, stating कि सुबह में प्रोजेक्ट अपडेट का मीटिंग लेना चाहते हैं सर। अब आज से 10 साल पहले का आप सोचिए, जो ऑनरेबल एडवाइजर सर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन की बात कर रहे थे, सो गवर्नमेंट में भी सर बहुत ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हुआ है, बहुत ज़्यादा। पीपल आर लिटरली वेरी प्रोफेशनल इन देयर अप्रोच ऑफ सॉल्विंग एनी प्रॉब्लम। तो 2:30 बजे मैसेज आया, ही स्टार्टेड कॉलिंग में 2:30 बजे, उनके बाद मैसेज 2:30 बजे आया, स्टार्ट कॉलिंग में, एक मिस कॉल, 2 मिस कॉल। अच्छा, इस पे क्या है, आजकल सुविधा उस पे आ गई है, आईफोन पे आप डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब लगा सकते हैं, तो यूजुअली मैं वही करता हूँ। सो 8 बजे के बाद इज डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब, क्योंकि उसके बाद मैं पढ़ता बहुत हूँ बुक्स वगैरह। तो उस दिन भी ऐसे ही था, इट्स ऑटोमेटेड, संडे को छोड़ के बाकी सब दिन डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब है, क्योंकि संडे को फैमिली टाइम होता है, लोग फोन करते हैं, बुआ जी, मासा जी, अलग अलग जो फोन आते रहते हैं। 2:30 बजे ही केप्ट कॉलिंग, इन द मॉर्निंग व्हेन आई गॉट अप 6:30, डू नॉट डिस्टर्ब बंद हुआ, 18 मिस कॉल्स, और उसके बाद 2 मैसेजेस, एक विद एंगर फेस, रेड फेस, you know, what is this, your phone is not, we are not responding and all that. Now 8:30 we had to go for the presentation. Imagine 2:30 बजे मिनिस्टर सर कह रहे हैं कि 8:30 बजे आपको आके प्रोजेक्ट अपडेट देना है। Now the point I am trying to highlight is, forget about those days जहाँ पे आपको ये लगता था कि गवर्नमेंट जॉब मिल जाएगी and I will be safe and secure और मुझे काम नहीं करना पड़ेगा। It's only and only about your skills, your intent. Very important. I personally follow it. If you have intent to learn, nothing can stop you. And be very honest to yourself in terms of what you want to do in life. Next slide, please. Again, this may not be visible, so we'll just quickly glance through it because anyways we'll be getting the slide. So 3D printing is there, cyber security, new design media is something which widely is being talked about in entertainment sector as a new job role. Hydroponics is also coming in the new energy sector as a job role, it's widely being talked about. Then learn and agile processes. Now this is something again, every industry going forward in next to 5 to 6 years time, they're going to set up internal learning and development mechanism because of changes which are happening. So you guys also, since you will be getting into the work system, you have to be very agile to adopt new practices. Read about certain case studies which are there for the shop floor ethics. Very important. Because this is something which widely was talked about in all the conversations we had with the industry people. Next slide, please. Now, some emerging watermarks of new business models. Rapid business adaptability is something which everyone talked about, that we have to address to the changing needs of the customer. Lenskart, when they started, they invested more than 80 crores to hire people who used to go to your places. आप जब पहले बुक करते होंगे तो बड़े सा बैग लेके आते थे आपके घर पे, वो चश्मा पहनाता था, देखता था। That has changed. Now 3D model, सब कुछ 3D, आप अपना चश्मा चेक करिए, वो आगे पीछे ऊपर नीचे आप देख सकते हैं कैसे दिखते हो आप। The entire vertical is closed and this has happened in 4 months time. 4 months. That's the pace of change and disruption which is happening in the industry. So you have to be very, very aware of these changes. Acceleration of digital transformation. Again, in this report, it was highlighted that 73% of companies around the world, because this was a global report, they will in some form or the other adopt technology. So basic technical skills, non-negotiable. And for you, don't think of कि मुझे Java आना चाहिए, मुझे advanced tools आने चाहिए. I'll tell you a very simple rule. All the Microsoft products, whether it's PPT, whether it's Word, with an Excel sheet, be a master of it. Just be a master of it and then think about advanced, ये भी आना चाहिए, वो भी आना चाहिए. Not required. EY has a full-fledged presentation team. वो सिर्फ presentation बनाती है बैठ के clients के लिए. 18 लोग काम करते हैं उधर. I'm talking about Bangalore office, Delhi office में और भी ज़्यादा है. तो उसके लिए कोई एडवांस तो उन्होंने कुछ नहीं किया, क्या किया? बेसिक स्किल सीखे. Now, as per global standards for any presentation is 6 by 6, maximum 6 lines or 6 words in a line. Even I have not followed it, but you should be aware of it. It can be asked to you in any interview questions. Gig economy we have talked about, supply chains we have talked about, rethinking the concept of very organization. Now, multitasking we have been hearing about it, right? A lot. कि सबको multitasking बनना चाहिए, ये आना चाहिए, वो आना चाहिए. My advice to you would be that there has to be some core competencies, and certain things could be add-on. Don't think कि आप Instagram पे reels देख रहे हो और साथ में presentation बना दे तो multitasking. This is not. This is just not. But if 10 windows are open on your laptop, if you are able to navigate through shortcuts, that's a kind of multitasking. Jab you can quickly refer to all these 10 documents in one go. That's multitasking. So going forward as a professional, you should be also working on these skills also. Then what is my core competency? And these are 4 things which I have to learn. Every organization is looking for it. Next slide, please. Now, these are some emerging scenarios as per the report going forward. Of course, globalization is something which is on the decline. It's more towards looking inwards, even in India. And this trend was already visible, but after COVID, most of the economies, उन्होंने पहले अपने देश का अपने के बारे में वो सब सोचना शुरू किया. Globalization as a concept is there, will always remain. But now the new term is economic globalization. Globalization was always about economy and free trade and all. But this word has purposely been added to it. Because a lot of other factors, now people are looking inwards. It's not like an open space कि आप आए गए और जो चीजें आपको करना है कर लिया. That is very important. Nationalization is something which everybody talked about. The industry is also very clear on one thing, that if we are not aligned to our national vision, what government is thinking, somewhere it will hamper us also. Right? Google had to pay 3.8 billion of fine to US government. It was 3-4 days back. Why? Because they shared all the data of the election, last time election. They were fighting the case and they have lost it. CCI, which is the Competition Commission of India, and they are the nodal agency, they take care of all the market entry and competitive landscape in India. So when Google entered to India, they said that if you download from Android, and if you are a company and you are buying and selling through Google platform, they were charging 30% as commission. Again, there was a case here in India where a lot of industry association came together. They said कि नहीं, इसमें तो Prime Minister is talking about, you know, startup India and self-reliant India, तो ये आपकी 30% लेके जा रहे हैं, तो हमारे लिए loss है. Think, national importance, national vision, Google has to take it down. So it's very important. That's the trend which was visible in all the conversations. Urbanization. So even small towns, small cities now, a lot of facilities, infrastructure development, all that is happening. Disruptive entrance, startups, customization, personalization. Zara already has opened a store in US, California, where you go to the store, आप वहाँ खड़े हो जाइए, वो आपको सारा जो आपको, जैसे आपने कहीं देखा होगा किसी इंस्टाग्राम के रील में, वहाँ पे कलर कॉम्बिनेशन टाइप करिए, हाथ के हाथ आपको प्रिंट करके नया कपड़ा मिल जाएगा. It's already happening. So that's the level of customization we are talking about. Digital divide, of course, is something which is widening, but I feel in India it's reducing. This is a global pattern because more and more people are using devices in India. Next slide, please. Skill gap. This is closing demand for narrow specialists. Like I said in the beginning, it's more about job roles now. It's no more a broader marketing, finance, HR, or civil engineering or mechanical engineering. People demand for collaborative team skills. So again, we have talked about it. Next slide. Now, these are some emerging. ये बहुत important slide है. इस पे आप लोग थोड़ा अच्छे से ध्यान दीजिए कि क्या-क्या opportunities आ रही हैं आप. Now, there are various areas, but then these are some 5 important sectors what I have listed here. Web tech में data scientists, robotics engineers, workplace technology manager. This is high in demand across sectors. Cyber security experts I have talked about. Visual communicator. This is also something. So for example, online gaming में क्या होता है? जैसे भी IPL आप घर पे बैठ के देखते हैं, तो sports से वो sports tech की तरफ जाता है, which means as an UX UI experience is changes. You feel like you're sitting in a stadium and watching a live match. For that, what kind of expertise you need? You need visual communicators. You need UX designers. You need UI designers जो इस पूरे experience को तैयार करते हैं. Business processing HR specialist. Now HR is also transformed now. You as an HR specialist need to understand the business transformation which is happening and how your company can be ready for it. So it's no more HR generalist profile. It's always aligned to the business needs of it. Strategic officer, corporate affairs expert, cloud engineers, perception analyst. ये कल के ET में एक आर्टिकल था. Yamaha has sued ET for that. I'll give you this very interesting story. तो कोई एक्सीडेंट हुई थी जिसमें यामाहा के बाइक पे ही कोई चला रहा होगा. अब क्या हुआ कि ET के छोटे से उसमें उन्होंने कैप्चर किया, बट उस पूरे आर्टिकल में एक्सीडेंट का कम था, बट 5 जगह उन्होंने यामाहा लिखा था. यामाहा बाइक पे, you know, the person was riding Yamaha bike, the Yamaha bike hit from the behind. So 5 times they had used Yamaha. Now what Yamaha did, they picked it as a negative PR, perception building. They have sued ET for that. आप सोचो किस लेवल पे हो. Forget PR. Now it's about perception analysis. There are companies they are doing media monitoring. आपने PR का सुना होगा नाम, but now there are organizations which are called media monitoring firms. So all these guys who are the big Bollywood guys and big companies, what they do? They hire one of these media monitoring firms. उनका काम ही नहीं होता है हर रोज का न्यूज़पेपर, printed, magazine, online. They evaluate everything, do this perception analysis, and by evening I did a report to where I was negatively captured and which were the positive stories of me. So for all of you who are like a business students, perception analysis पढ़िए इसके बारे में. Very exciting job role which is coming up, and everybody talked about it. Because कंपनी में भी तो चाहिए होते हैं ना, वो मार्केटिंग के लोग अलग होंगे, परसेप्शन एनालिस्ट अलग हायरिंग करेंगे वो, with very good pay and package salary. Business growth officers, community engagement, perception analysis I have talked about, customer acquisition, content creators. Very important. Even if AI is giving you everything you ask, but still you have to customize. Okay, chalo, back here. So these are some of the. So these are some of the new job roles which are going to come. Take a note of it and read about it. I also request all the distinguished faculty members here that, and this is something which Dr. Shahji has discussed with you also. I'll help all of you. Let's start developing skills tracker every 6 months. We can identify 3 sectors, and in those 3 sectors, what kind of skills which are emerging, what kind of job roles may come. And that should go on the notice board. Every student should see it. Very important. Because what they are seeing is something which is very generic. And the world has changed into very micro now in terms of employment opportunities. Next slide, please. This I'll skip because this is summary of what I have talked about. Next. This also we can skip. Next. Now, in next 2-3 slides, I have just captured some of the important policy level intervention, some new areas where government is also investing, what kind of jobs which may emerge. That will also give you a clarity of how the government is thinking going forward. Next slide. Now these are some of the COEs. Now why COEs are required? So you also have this, which one? Royal Enfield COE. Now it can immensely help you, right? You go and see the entire process of it. They are subject matter experts. You can take live projects with them. So COEs are fundamentally those places where a lot of these R&Ds, case study sharing, product showcase, all this happens. Government is focusing on these few areas. So artificial intelligence, we already know about it. Internal security is also to do with the drone technology. Heavily being invested and heavily government is taking on those lines. There are 6 empowered committees of drones which are working at this point of time. A lot of jobs will emerge in those drone sector also. Cluster development I have already talked about. We have more than 5,080 clusters in India. Clusters is, I already defined, it's linked to ODOP product. For example, Kanpur is known for leather cluster, right? If you go to Agra is Agra को वहाँ के ताले के लिए लॉक के लिए जाते हैं. आपके हमारे इधर गुजरात में अलग-अलग clusters से अलग-अलग चीजें famous है वहाँ की. So government is focusing on that. Future skills, we have this future skills platform along with NASSCOM. उसके साथ-साथ गवर्नमेंट का अपना AI का प्लेटफॉर्म, उस पर काफी काम होता है. फिनटेक को लेके गवर्नमेंट बहुत सीरियस है, because that is something which our honorable Prime Minister is heavily interested. I mean, there are, by the time we are discussing this, 6 countries, they are UPI driven now. तो आप वहाँ जाके भी Paytm से पे कर सकते हैं. आपको अपना रुपीस को चेंज नहीं कराना है, आप जाइए UPI से पे कर दीजिए. Similarly, language technology. There are so many platforms. AICTE has, Ministry of Education is also driving. So there is a growing understanding and sense that till a certain age, if you are comfortable in local language, studying that. Like I said, आपके कुछ core होंगे, core आपका अपने language में सीखिए. There is no problem. But as soon as you get into the worldly exposure, learn new skills in your language. Government उससे बहुत काम कर रही है और उस पे a lot of opportunities which are going to come out. Automotive electronics, virtual augmented realities. इसके ऊपर content और curriculum बन रहा है. Where sitting here you can go and visit, let's say, School of Design, Stanford University. That is also something which government is focusing on. Medical tech, health informatics is also by and large there. Next slide, please. Again, digital push में some of the immediate the benefits which you can see is the data-driven platforms. So in next 2 to 3 years' time, you will see at least 160 more digital platforms, which government is driving, along with a lot of other private sector players. And all that will create huge number of jobs in data-driven sectors. The other part is the policy understanding part of it. How do you demystify the entire policy part of it? If government is formulating a policy, so आपको मैं छोटा सा example देता हूँ. NSDC national level पे is responsible for skill development. Now there are 40 plus sector skill councils, right? Again, government took a policy decision that district level पे will have skills officers. हर district में अभी skills के लिए वहाँ पे ecosystem बनाया है. अब पहले क्या था सिर्फ NSDC, limited employment, then SSC came, employment increased, now district level skills के लिए. अब policy से कितने employment impact होता है आप देखिए. Now, maybe some of you, if you are wanting to get into skill ecosystem and make a career out of it, you should know the policy interventions from the government also. So, इसलिए ये सारी चीजें जब slides आपके पास आएगी, I suggest and request, humbly request all of you to go through this slide. Next slide, please. This I have already captured. Next slide. Again, these are some numbers. These numbers could have been slightly lowered or maybe have gone higher side in terms of employment. So if you see the transportation and logistics, this is expected to create 5 to 8 million jobs. This is a 2025 scenario, which is massive. Again, it's linked to the infrastructure push of the government. Again, connecting the dots. Very important for you to know and understand. The financial, media, telecom, again 7 to 8. This is mostly to do with the 5G and the 6G revolution and the government what is investing there. 10 to 12 million in trade and hotels. Now with all the push, my own city Varanasi, it saw 3.4 crore people visiting the city. Never has happened in the history of that city. The Ayodhya is coming up. So all these, in fact, people come to see our own this आपके city में जो river front बना हुआ है. कहाँ से लोग आते हैं देखने के लिए. So this whole hotel industry. Now, hotel industry में the trend what also was shared by a lot of hotel experts. Not necessarily they will pick the hotel management guy. They also need people who are good with business acumen, who understand the sensitivities of dealing with the client. The people who understand the cross-cultural connectivity, very important. Another example is, last year ICICI Bank, they picked history graduates from Miranda House. अब आप सोचिए हिस्ट्री जहाँ पे आप अकबर बाबर और हुमायूं के बारे में पढ़ रहे हैं उसका मैथ से क्या लेना देना है but they picked history graduates. You know the reason? Because these students were great with soft skills, the customer interaction skills. तो अभी क्या है इतना multi-faceted आपके सामने opportunities available है that don't confine yourself to one thing. Like I said, work on the 3 into 3 metrics. वो 3 areas identify करिए जहाँ पे आपका interest है. Agriculture is again big time investment where the government is investing and also a lot of startups are coming, agro-tech startups, lot of them, with all this crop insurance and lot of policy level decisions, which industry is equally responding to it. And that is expected to create 16 to 18 million jobs. 10 to 12 million jobs in design professionals, electronic assembly. अब देखिए जितनी भी चीजें मैंने कही हैं, all these are linked to the government push. नोएडा में वो पूरी इलेक्ट्रॉनिक सिटी बहुत बड़ी हो गई है. With all the PLI scheme and a lot of new schemes have come up, the electronic manufacturing somewhere is shifting to India, which you should be aware about. Next slide, please. Now, till now, too many innovation, too many changes. How should we go about it? It's very important. So, today is where we are standing, as in the present while we are discussing. Now, there are 2 ways to go about it. One is the probable areas where I can see the opportunity for me, right? So for example, if you're a civil engineer, can you look at some more probable areas where you can fit in, right? But the second is preferable. Now, to move from this tunnel to this tunnel, there is a gap, and this gap is of skill gap. So, probable is there, but you want to go into a different sector, different organization, or different job role altogether. If you have to do it, you have to fill in that skill gap. It's no more just about degrees. It's no more just about degrees. In addition to it, a lot of skills are required. And your faculty members are working really, really hard. But then you have to respond to it with an even more hard work. तो वो skills पे आपको बहुत ध्यान देना जरूरी है, बहुत ज़्यादा. And once you are clear with these 2 things, then you go to the possible part of it. The middle one you can skip. You can go to the possible part of it. This is a scientific tool suggested by a famous educationist, Piaget. We talk a lot about him when we talk about the K-12, the system development of a mind of a child. And I have read most of his literature. This has been picked from one of his books, which I thought is very, very scientific. So you look at the present where I stand, then you draw a roadmap for yourself, which are probables, and then you look at the preferable and fill the skill gap and then do the possible. Next slide, please. What should institutions' role be? I don't think I need to get into it, but just few thoughts I had, and I just put it here. Development of worldview, very, very important. I feel I have been going to a lot of these IIMs and other places also in my previous assignment as well. We see things from a micro lens. Especially ये आप बच्चों के लिए बहुत जरूरी है समझना. Can I have a silence? What is the problem with this person? Can you just ask him to sit, please? It's okay if you want to go out, let him go. It's fine. So what we do is हमारे स्पेशली कैंपसेस में क्या होता है, एक माइक्रो व्यू लेके चलते हैं ना. कॉलेज में गए तो कॉलेज में फिर बच्चों से बात करते हैं, दोस्तों से बात किया, कुछ यूट्यूब पे देख लिया कि ठीक है मुझे ये करना है. इमेंस अपॉर्चुनिटीज आर देयर. जितनी अपॉर्चुनिटी आज है, ऑनरेबल एडवाइजर सर बता रहे थे कितना ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन हुआ है हमारी कंट्री में पिछले 10 सालों में. वन कैन लिटरली सी इट. I travel across the country for various meetings and talk. Let me tell you, the opportunities which are there today उतनी कभी भी नहीं थी आज के लिए, never. और आप अपने will पे अपने हिसाब से कर सकते हैं. तो it's very important, and this is for faculty members also, to give students a world view. How things are transforming, how things are changing. Very, very important. Vocational training, real life projects I'm sure we're doing. Citizenship training is again something, human development, which is very close to my heart, and I personally feel that if we are not able to ensure that all the students are good humans, then I think there is no purpose of any education for that matter. Integrated learning, all around development, and for this, the suggestion what I had to have the skills tracker. It's no more about communication, like I said, it's visual communication. It's no more just about the business development. It's about business metrics development. We talk about 0 to X project. How an organization from a vertical of 0 can go to X. So all these changes which have happened. We talk about transformative HR now. How do we build that systems in the campuses? That's very important. While we do it, we can look at certain learning platforms. We can look at organizing a lot of these hackathons, and I'm sure we are doing all this. Clubs and communities. I feel somewhere all institutions have these clubs and communities. थोड़ा इसको और एक्टिवेट करने की जरूरत है, मुझे ऐसा लगता है. बिकॉज क्लब्स तो होते हैं, बट कितने एक्टिवली इन्वॉल्व है बच्चे उसके अंदर, कितना कंट्रीब्यूशन है. बट ये बेसिक्स है जो बहुत ही पावरफुल है. और ये आप बच्चों से भी मैं कहना चाहता हूँ कि आप जिस भी क्लब्स के पार्ट है उसमें बहुत एक्टिव रहिए. बी अ लीडर, बी अ पायनियर. आप कुछ इनिशिएटिव लीजिए. ये इतना अच्छा प्लेटफॉर्म हो सकता है आपके. कोलैबोरेट, co-create. Remember my first slide? You could be the co-creators of it. Collaborate and co-create. So much of learning can happen. Integrated providers, culture of self-assessment. ये जो मैंने मेरी पहली की स्लाइड थी. आप अपने आप को सेल्फ असेस करिए. Talk to your faculty members. Tell them that these are the areas which are of your interest areas, and how you want to move to a different field, and what are the skills which are required. They will help you understanding all this. Self-assessment बहुत जरूरी है उसके लिए. Next slide please. Now coming back to the theme of the session. I always feel, because I have a story to tell, next slides will tell you my story. So by 2047, I think we should all have a story to tell, to share to the entire world, not just with the family, but with society and the nation at large. And how we can do it? First point, what are my values, my experience, and why I do what I do? ये questions हम सबको पूछना चाहिए खुद से. Every day perhaps. And if I am behaving in a certain way, why I am doing it? Story of us, which is shared vision, co-creation, collective responsibility, coherence with nature, extremely important. Third point, story of our great nation. जब फर्स्ट और दो का हम ध्यान रखेंगे तो थर्ड itself will take care of itself. Where I'll say how I have contributed to the society and towards nation building. ये हम सबको पूछना चाहिए by the time we celebrate 2047. Next slide. So, like I said, my father, he was in railways. So I was telling you about my school. This is my school. I have studied here till 6th standard. ये एक कमरे का स्कूल था. यहाँ पे आर सिंह, रमन सिंह उनका नाम था, को टीचर, वो बैठते थे यहाँ बाहर. और अंदर में बीएन सिंह थे, वो प्रिंसिपल थे, वो अंदर बैठते थे. तो तीसरी क्लास तक ये हमारा क्लासरूम होता था. उसके बाद मैं अंदर गया और क्लास का डिवीजन कैसे होता था, वो डस्टर रख देते थे बीच में. डस्टर की इधर एक क्लास, डस्टर की इधर दूसरी क्लास. नाउ ही विल टीच अ कॉमन टॉपिक, राइट? अब आप उस क्लास के नहीं हो तो you can do whatever you have to, but class सबका एक साथ चलेगा. This was my class, this was my school. Of course, I recently visited to see, because I feel we all should be connected to our roots, हम जहाँ से आते हैं. Very important, and वो हमारे value system का ध्यान रखता है. From here to going to Stanford University and graduating from their business school, it was, now when I reflect upon, I feel quite a journey actually. But again, like I said, I have always been rooted to my values. I was representing India in BRICS Skill Education Working Group. This is South Africa, where I represented the country. Honorable Prime Minister and a lot of senior people were there. And I made a presentation there of India at the rate 2050. So that was the chance given to me to represent the country in the BRICS forum. The right side, what you see is the Education Minister of UAE. So recently, last year, Dubai organized this Expo 2020, and there they had this 9 journeys of a student. Very beautifully designed journey, how a student can go and experience the overall changes which have happened. So I was part of the core team which designed this new journey. Testing, yeah. So this is from the UAE and designing of the 9 journeys. Next slide. Now, so I talked about the first, that you have to be connected to your roots, which was value system. Then I talked about that how you have to ensure that you give it back to the society. This is again something, sharing my story. So this is ITBP DGP Delhi. So ITBP has its own school in difficult areas. They have 2 in Ladakh, in Sikkim, and all these areas. So I devote my 2 days in a month to take online classes to students who are there. So that's how I'm giving it back to ITBP. The right side you see DGP UP Police. They also have around 16 schools which is supported and funded by UP Police. I take a lot of sessions with students there, that how they can get into defense service or clearing UPSC. That's how I give it back to society. These are three students, again from the same place, Jharkhand, where I spent quite a lot of time. These are orphans, इनके माँ बाप नहीं हैं, तो my family as a whole we take care of their education. उनका पूरा खर्चा हम उठाते हैं. This is a school in Lucknow, in a village, जहाँ पे वो डबल डेकर बस चलती है दिल्ली से लखनऊ. तो 2 महीने में एक बार डबल डेकर बस में बैठ के मैं वहाँ जाता हूँ, क्योंकि फ्लाइट की सुविधा नहीं है. वहाँ पे I take teacher training sessions, only to give them world view कि क्या change हुआ है. So to tell you about all this is not to just do a drum beating of what I am doing, but just to tell you that we are fortunate enough to have access to everything. Everything. So it's very important that we see this life journey as a journey of human development. Extremely important. If we are confined to that idea, let me tell you this, there is no opportunity which you cannot achieve. So that's the story of mine, and I want all of us that by the time 2047 we are reaching and celebrating this great nation, we should have a story to tell to everyone. Thank you.
While I was listening to the whole session, I remembered one of the line of Jonas sir which he said in the convocation, that is, Nano ke moto, but manas bannu jaruri che. For the people who are not understanding Gujarati, whatever you do, it is very important to become a good human being. Whether you are rich or poor, but it's important to be a human. Thank you so much, sir, for all the information that we have got. I am sure that our students are going to benefit a lot from it. That was an inspiring talk. Thank you, sir, for aligning the young minds towards the spirit of development. We appreciate it a lot. Now, everyone, the forum is open for discussions and questions are invited. So anybody who has questions to ask. Now I request Dr. Shorting Shah, Vice Chancellor, Silver Oak University, to felicitate our eminent speaker with a moment.
चल भाई पाल दी पता एक्शन नहीं मैं तो જોયેલું છે मैं तो જોયેલું
Now I request Professor Neet Shah, Registrar, to present the certificate to our speaker, Shri Shiv Shukla ji. To mark the conclusion of today's development dialogue, I invite Dr. Richa Dayaramani, coordinator of this event, to propose the vote of thanks. Please, ma'am. Namaskar. I hope you have enjoyed the session thoroughly, and it has given you an insight of what all holds in future for all of us. Only thing is that we have to shift our focus, because I know that when a question is asked what makes you successful, you will think that being rich is successful or getting money is successful, but true success would lie in enjoying the feeling and rejoicing it that you are happy, and because of you some other people are happy. So you have to create such an environment. Now today I feel very privileged to propose a vote of thanks on behalf of our university and on my personal behalf as well. And I thank Mr. Shiv Shukla for being able to showcase a world of opportunities out there lying for all of you. And his talk not only gave us the knowledge about the advancements and developments, and you can also pick up some trending jargons, and he has also made an effort to teach us how to think like a pro entrepreneur, to build a career and at the same time contribute towards establishing our nation as a development, the program under which we are holding this event. I would like to express my thankfulness to AICTE for choosing our university campus in the list of selected campuses, where an initiation of this Mahayagya of Viksit Bharat, imagining and brainstorming as a developed country in the coming times. So next, I would like to thank our management, senior management officers who have given us the platform and infrastructure along with all the support to conduct the event successfully. A special thanks goes to all our head of institutions, head of departments, faculty members, invited teachers to show their presence and also motivate students to participate in this seminar. Today, more than 500 students and close to 75 faculty members have participated in this event from different institutions of our university. So this made the seminar a grand success, and it was able to attract the attention of all the curious and motivated students. Now learning is always a great opportunity, and it helps us grow. So I take this opportunity to thank my admin team, admin support system, IT AD support team, the staff of my college who has put their joined the hands together, the media team, and not to mention the members of the housekeeping team for giving their invaluable contributions to help us enjoy this event nicely. Now please exonerate me if I have forgotten to acknowledge anybody's contribution. But in total, I thank each and everyone who has contributed in the slightest possible manner in action and in thoughts to make this event successful. So to wind up, I would say, પોતાના જ દરિયામાં પોતાની જે ડૂબકીથી જાતનું અમૂલ મોતી લો અને નથી તે મજામાં ખાલી વાવતા ધજામાં એવો હાડનો પ્રવાસી ગોતી લો. So please go. If time was money, then today you have Thank you all. Thank you so much, ma'am. Now requesting all to raise for the national anthem.
अधिनायक जय भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तब शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तब जय गाथा जन गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे
Thank you, everyone.